On September 11, 2015, the community of Fairfield Harbour gathered to remember those individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice and reflect on the events that occurred 14 years ago. 4 years ago, our community dedicated this 9/11 memorial with the hopes that our generation and those who follow us will never forget the events of 9/11/2001.
On this day 14 years ago, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat, and it failed miserably. Our country is as strong now as it ever was. A great people were moved to defend a great nation. America was targeted for the attack because we are the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world. And no one will keep that light from shining. Our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the very best of America. With the daring of our rescue workers, firemen, police, first responders, EMTs, and paramedics on that horrible day to those sites. We will make no distinction between terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them. Tonight, when you go home, please pray for all those who grieve still today, for the children whose worlds were shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. God bless America. It's my honor to introduce Brandon Pastor, our assistant manager. He's retired from the United States Marine Corps. Brandon?
Ladies and gentlemen, please ask that you rise for the presentation of the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please join us in the singing of God Bless America, played by Bob Dumont. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my privilege to introduce the Board of Director, Dan Engelhop, retired from the U.S. Army with 20 years of service.
Thank you, Brandon. It really is a special day of reflection. They've asked me to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to have a little help from some of our younger members, if I could. Can you come up and help me? I haven't done this in a number of years. I do remember where I was on this day 14 years ago. I was about 6 miles from the Pentagon, and I had 7 people who worked for me who were in the Pentagon at the time, and it was 4 hours before we knew their fate, and they all came out fine, but it was a day you'll never forget, and it was as if the smoke would never stop rising. I think, again, it's like a John F. Kennedy moment. We'll always remember where we were that day. You guys ready? Pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if you would stay standing for the presentation of the wreath by Chief Steve Solto and Assistant Chief Matt Spirko. At this time, Mr. Bob Dumont will give us the Star-Spangled Banner. time, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Dennis Thompson.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please remain standing as we retire the colors.
Good evening, dignitaries, special guests, first responders, and members of the community. One nation. Two towers. Three locations: the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Four planes, two in New York, one in Washington, D.C., and one in Pennsylvania. And now 14 years have passed. History has been rewritten. The scholars, the photographers, the authors, and the artists have all contributed by their own hand and mind to rebuild, restore, not only the places where these events took place, but in the very heart and soul of each of us. We must be compassionate and caring to those who are still struggling to rebuild their lives, carry on for those who were taken from us, and to teach the children what happened that one day 14 years ago. So this day of horror will never happen again. Never forget. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the following people, for without them, this memorial would not have been erected. Jim Abel, Betsy Conselman, Brian Giersch, Gus Gustafson, Olin Jarvis, Walt Kerner, Ann Simpson, Ravonda Stewart, Wayne Strasbaugh, and Bill Turner. Thank you.